I put the salad on the table. That's all I did. Just set down a damn bowl of greens, like any decent husband would at dinner with his wife's family. But her mother, Linda, looked me straight in the face and said, "The help doesn't eat with family." The room went silent. Forks froze halfway to mouths. I glanced at my wife, Amanda, expecting even a flicker of protest. Nothing. She didn't blink. She just sipped her wine, lips barely curving into what looked suspiciously like a smirk. I looked at Linda. I looked at Amanda. Then I slowly wiped my hands on the napkin, leaned across the table, and said, clear as day, "I own this entire resort." Her fork slipped from her hand. She didn't know. None of them did. Because that's the kind of game Amanda liked to play. Smoke and mirrors. Lies wrapped in silk. She told her family I was just in real estate. Not what kind. Not that I'd quietly acquired the exact mountain resort they'd been visiting every summer since Amanda was 5. Not that I bought it 3 months ago when Amanda started working late and crashing at the girls' spa weekend. But I knew. I knew everything. Let's rewind 2 months. The moment things shifted, Amanda stopped kissing me goodnight. I'm not talking about dramatic cold shoulders or slamming doors. No. Amanda was smarter than that. Calculated. She just stopped noticing me. Her "hey babe" turned robotic. She'd pick up her phone mid-conversation. She wore lipstick to the gym but rolled her eyes when I asked her to join me for dinner. Then came the burner phone. Yeah, a real, actual burner phone. I found it in the laundry basket, buried under her gym leggings. Burned into the screen. "Can't wait for this weekend. Same sweet. Miss your lips. Hope he's still clueless. Room 312. Friday. I'll be inside waiting." And she was. Oh, believe me, she was. That Friday, I got to the resort a full hour before Amanda. I sat in the lobby in a baseball cap, watched her check in under her maiden name. Watched her skip to the elevator. I followed. Room 312. I didn't knock. I didn't barge in. I listened. What I heard. Let's just say they weren't watching TV. I didn't confront her that night. I didn't storm in like in the movies. No. I played it cool. Because if Amanda wanted to play chess with my heart, I was done being the pawn. The next morning, I met with the resort's board of directors and signed the final acquisition papers. I was now the majority owner. 2 weeks later, when her family scheduled their annual getaway, guess where? Room 312. Same suite, same wing. I smiled and approved the reservation. Fast forward to now. Dinner. Linda insulted me. Amanda betrayed me. And I served salad like a gentleman before shattering their smug little fantasy. I own this entire resort. Amanda's jaw tightened. Linda turned pale. Her brother Ryan looked like he wanted to throw up his salmon. Amanda tried to laugh it off. "Oh, don't be dramatic, Noah," but her hands were shaking. I wasn't finished. I leaned closer to her and whispered, just for her ears. "You left your burner in the laundry. You should clean up better if you're going to dirty your vows." Her face. God. I'll never forget the way it drained of color. That was part 1 of my revenge. And it had only just begun. Next came the confrontation. And oh, it wasn't going to be quiet. Not anymore. Amanda didn't say a word the rest of dinner. She kept her eyes down, poking at her salmon, chewing on air. Her mother kept trying to steer the conversation back to safe ground. Weather, vacation plans, something about a vineyard, but no one was listening. The tension sat between us like a ticking bomb. I waited until dessert. Everyone was relaxed again, or pretending to be. Her dad poured wine. Her cousin was showing Instagram photos of her kid's talent show, and Amanda had just started to fake laugh at something her sister said. That's when I slid the burner phone across the table. It made a small clack as it stopped in front of her. Amanda froze. The room shifted. The laughter stopped mid-note. Her hand moved slowly toward the phone, but I grabbed it before she could reach it. "Want me to read out some of the messages?" I asked, my voice calm. "Or do you want to explain to everyone what room 312 is?" Her chair scraped back. She stood up, eyes darting around like she was looking for an exit that didn't exist. "Noah," she hissed, "can we please not do this here?" "Why not?" I shrugged. "Seems fitting. This place is where it all went down, right?" Linda looked confused. "Amanda, what is he talking about?" "She knows exactly what I'm talking about," I said, standing too. "Don't you, sweetheart? Maybe your mom can tell me if the help is supposed to bring wine to the guy you're sneaking around with, too." That's when Amanda snapped. "You are so pathetic," she spat, suddenly bold. "You think this little stunt makes you some kind of hero? What? You buy the place, and now you've got power over me." "No," I said, slowly. "I already had power. I just stopped pretending not to. You're bitter because you're boring, she snapped, loud enough for the whole table to hear. You walk around with your spreadsheets and polite smiles and think that's enough to keep a woman like me interested? I blinked. She was unraveling faster than I expected. Oh, so it was my fault? I asked. She leaned in, ice cold. You stopped being exciting. You stopped paying attention. And I needed to feel alive again. He gave me that. A sharp silence followed. Her father coughed awkwardly. Her sister stared at her plate. I stepped back, finally calm. Thanks for the honesty, I said. Now let me be honest too. You're not just a cheater. You're a parasite. You take, you manipulate, and when it's not fun anymore, you move on. You want to feel alive? Go do it outside this family, outside my home, and without my money. I dropped the room key from her suite onto the table. Oh, and one more thing, I added. I already filed the papers. This marriage is done. Her mother gasped. Amanda's lip curled. You'll regret this, she said through her teeth. No, I said, meeting her gaze one last time. You will. I turned and walked out. Outside, the night air hit like a slap. But for the first time in months, I could breathe. The truth was out. The mask was off. And now it was time to take everything she thought she had and burn it down. I didn't go home that night. I drove 2 hours to a quiet lakeside cabin I bought years ago and barely ever used. I didn't need comfort. I needed distance. Space from the perfume-stained lies, the smug glances, and the twisted theater Amanda had turned my life into. I sat by the fireplace with a bottle of whiskey and let the silence crawl into my bones. For the first time in years, it was quiet. No passive-aggressive remarks, no fake affection, no faking myself. Just me, and the echo of the moment she said I was boring. Boring. That word looped in my head all night. Not unfaithful, not cruel, not neglectful. Just boring. That's what justified the late nights, the secret hotel keys, the extra showers when she got home, the giggles she thought I didn't hear. I remembered the nights I waited up for her, texting, calling, pacing by the window. The night she said, "Stop acting like my father," or "God, Noah, I just need space." The nights I cleaned up after dinner alone, her plate untouched, her scent already gone from the room. And still, I believed her. Still, I blamed myself. That's the kind of man I was. Until that night. The next morning, I went back to the city and straight to my attorney. The divorce papers were already drafted. I'd been preparing them since the day I found the phone. But now it was war. And I wasn't just looking for an exit, I wanted fire. I didn't just ask for separation of assets. I pulled financial records. Everything. The credit cards she maxed out, the boutique she borrowed, money to start but never opened, the secret transfers from our joint account to her mother. I exposed it all. Turns out Amanda had been bleeding me dry while playing Queen Bee. I froze our accounts, canceled her cards, and transferred the house deed to a trust under my control. I wasn't just leaving her. I was stripping her of every soft landing she thought she had. That night, she called. The name lit up on my phone like a disease. I let it ring. Then the messages started. I can't believe you're doing this. This isn't you, Noah. You're better than this. We can fix this. We just need to talk. Please. Don't make this ugly. Ugly? She cheated on me. Lied to me. Humiliated me in front of her whole family. And I was making it ugly? Then she played her final card. You think people won't see you for what you are? Controlling. Cold. Just like your father. And there it was. The venom. That night, I drove to the house to pick up a few things. I used the back entrance. She was in the living room, sitting with some guy I didn't recognize, mid-30s, smug, gym tan. She didn't even flinch when I walked in. Oh, she said, lazily. You still have a key? I looked at the guy. You must be the live entertainment. He smirked, but I saw the flicker of discomfort in his eyes. Amanda stood up, arms folded, like she was the victim in some soap opera. You're blowing this way out of proportion. You knew things weren't good between us. You're right, I said. They weren't good. But I stayed loyal. I stayed honest. That used to mean something. She laughed. Loyalty doesn't keep a woman satisfied, Noah. You think being a good man is enough? Try being wanted. I nodded slowly. Thanks for confirming exactly who you are. I picked up my things and left. No yelling. No drama. Just quiet finality. The kind that says, you don't exist to me anymore. But deep inside, something burned. Not love. Not grief. Just rage and freedom. 2 days later, she showed up at my office. Wearing that same black blazer she used to wear when she wanted to charm investors. Lipstick perfect. Hair curled like nothing happened. She walked past my assistant like she still owned the place and stood in my doorway like she had a right to be there. Noah, we need to talk. I didn't even look up. If it's not about signing the divorce papers, there's nothing left to say. She stepped in, closed the door behind her, and for the first time since this whole mess started, she dropped the mask. No fake concern. No crocodile tears. You want to ruin me, she said flatly. No, I replied. I want you gone. Ruin is just a side effect. She tilted her head. You think you're better than me? I looked her dead in the eyes. No, I know I am. She laughed, mocking, sharp. You don't scare me, Noah. I've already moved on. I've got people. I've got options. I'm not the one crawling into a cabin in the woods with a bottle of whiskey crying about betrayal. I stood up, walked around the desk. Good, I said, calm as glass. Then you won't miss any of this. I handed her the latest legal filing, removal of her name from every company asset, a court order for the return of the car I paid for, notification that the boutique's lease was canceled and locked. She scanned the papers, hands shaking now. You're being vindictive. No, I said. I'm being thorough. She swallowed. I gave you 10 years. You sold me 10 years of performance and lies. I'm just settling the bill. That was the last time she showed up in person. After that, everything came through lawyers, which was fine with me. I didn't want to hear her voice anymore. Didn't want to smell her perfume. I just wanted her gone, legally, emotionally, financially. Gone. But her mother? Linda wasn't done. She called me from a private number a week later. Started off civil, then quickly turned venomous. You've humiliated my daughter. No, I said. She did that all by herself? You think you're better than her now because you have money? You used to be grateful to be part of this family. You called me the help, Linda. There was silence. I could feel her heartbeat through the phone. You disrespected me in my own marriage, in a resort I own. And now you're mad that your golden girl turned out to be a fraud and I walked away. You'll die alone, she snapped. That's what happens to men like you. Cold. Arrogant. I smiled. At least I won't die a fool. And I hung up. That night, I sat alone on the balcony of my apartment. No drama, no shouting, no lies. Just city lights and the realization that I was finally free. Not healed yet, but free. I looked out over the skyline and let the quiet settle over me. Amanda used to hate this view. Said it felt empty. But I loved it. Because for once, the silence wasn't hiding anything. It was just honest. The divorce was finalized 3 weeks later. No ceremony. No last-minute begging. Just a few signatures, some tight-lipped attorneys, and a quiet slam of the courthouse door. I didn't celebrate. I didn't go drinking or throw some cliché freedom party. I just went home, opened the windows, and let the air in. That was enough. The silence didn't feel lonely, it felt clean. Honest. The weight of pretending, of doubting myself, of walking on glass just to keep her from snapping gone. But it didn't end there. Amanda wasn't built to lose. 3 days after the papers were signed, I got a call from HR at my company. Someone had submitted a complaint. Accusations of misconduct, manipulation, even harassment. All anonymous, of course. But I knew. Amanda was trying to burn the bridge she thought I'd never cross again. What she didn't know was that I'd already spoken to every department head. I'd handed over every text, every email, every message where she tried to use her connection to me to land influence and consulting fees she never earned. The board backed me, but it still pissed me off. She could cheat, lie, humiliate me. And when that didn't destroy me, she started reaching for the matches. I showed up at her condo. She opened the door wearing a robe like it was still our honeymoon, like she thought the scent of citrus shampoo and feigned vulnerability would short-circuit my memory. Seriously, I asked, stepping inside without waiting. You think this works now? She closed the door, slowly. I just wanted to talk. No, I said, you wanted to sabotage me. You couldn't handle the fact that I didn't fall apart without you. She didn't deny it. That was the thing with Amanda. When she knew she couldn't lie her way out, she leaned into it like it made her powerful. Men like you always need to win, she said, circling me like a vulture. You need the narrative. Good guy betrayed by the cruel wife. But let me tell you something, Noah. You were never the victim. You were the routine. You were the calendar. The safe bet. And safe gets boring. I stepped closer, nose to nose. You think betrayal makes you bold? I said, voice low. It just makes you forgettable. You think cheating made you strong? It made you common. Nothing you did was unique. Just lazy. Just weak. She blinked, the mask cracking. "You're not the storm," I said. "You're the wind that dies before the thunder starts." And then I left. She didn't follow. She didn't call again after that. I'd closed the door with no fire, no final scream, no dramatic walk-off. Just quiet, permanent disinterest. And I swear, that hurt her more than anything I ever could have said. The next few weeks were about rebuilding. Not my image. Not my career. Those were intact. I rebuilt myself. I got back to running every morning. I cooked my own dinners. I slept without grinding my teeth. I started seeing friends again, friends Amanda said were too lowbrow, or just looking for something from us. Turns out they were just waiting for me to come back. I even started volunteering twice a week at a nonprofit Amanda used to mock because helping poor people doesn't pay the bills. Every step I took without her felt like a step back into sunlight. But one morning, I got an envelope. No name. No return address. Inside was a photo. Amanda, sitting at a bar with the same guy from room 312. He was turned away, half out of frame. She looked tired. Not broken, not beaten, just off. There was a note. "She thinks he's her fresh start. He's married. Just so you know." No signature. I burned it. Because whatever storm she walked into next, I wasn't her shelter anymore. A month later, I found myself walking through the same resort where this all started. The mountains hadn't changed. The hallways still smelled like cedar and eucalyptus. Guests laughed by the pool. Staff moved quietly in crisp uniforms. Life kept going. It always does. But for me, it was different now. I wasn't hiding in shadows or pretending not to notice the cracks. I wasn't second-guessing myself every time Amanda sighed or rolled her eyes. I wasn't bending just to keep something already broken from falling apart. I walked into room 312. It had been cleaned, reset, nothing left of them. No perfume. No wine stains on the carpet. Just a neatly made bed, fresh towels, and sunlight crawling across the floor like nothing ever happened there. I stood in the middle of the room, stared at the spot where her lies used to live. And I felt nothing. No rage. No grief. Just closure. I sat on the edge of the bed, hands resting on my knees, and thought about everything that brought me here. I remembered the first time Amanda looked at me like I mattered. It was during a New Year's party 8 years ago. She was wearing a red dress and holding champagne, and I told a stupid joke that made her laugh. Real, deep, eyes closed kind of laugh. I didn't realize then that it would be the last time she laughed like that for me. Some people love you because of who you are. Others love what you give them: status, comfort, attention. Amanda was the second kind. And I had been so busy giving that I didn't realize she stopped giving anything back a long time ago. I left room 312 without locking the door behind me. Let the past float through. Let it echo then fade. That night, I got dinner with a couple of investors. One of them brought his sister. Her name was Claire. She wasn't flashy. She didn't flirt too hard or throw loaded compliments. She just asked about the food, laughed at the waiter's jokes, and didn't once check her phone. I noticed. That's the funny thing about healing. You never know when it starts. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's just a quiet dinner with someone who listens. Someone who isn't measuring your worth against a checklist they keep in their purse. When the check came, Claire offered to split it. I said no. She smiled and said, "Next time then." Not if, just next. And something about that made me want to know her more. I don't believe in fairy tale endings anymore. Amanda burned that out of me. But I believe in real ones. Honest ones. Ones where people show up without masks and say what they mean, even when it's ugly. So, here's what I learned. If someone makes you question your worth just by staying silent, they're not your partner, they're your poison. If someone makes you feel like you have to earn their loyalty, you're already losing. And if someone calls you boring because you're consistent, faithful, and stable, they were never looking for love. They were looking for chaos dressed in comfort. My advice? Don't fight to keep what's trying to leave. Don't chase what already closed the door behind you. And never, ever apologize for being the kind of man who sets the table and expects respect in return. Let them go, and then get back to building the life they never deserved to share. A few weeks passed. Claire and I started texting, not constantly, not obsessively. Just enough. Enough to feel normal again. Human. She wasn't the type to play games. She didn't ask who I used to be, didn't dig into Amanda, didn't try to fix me. She just showed up, simple and steady. And that was everything. One afternoon, we grabbed coffee and sat on a park bench overlooking a little lake. I told her about the resort, the divorce, the betrayal, some of it, not all. She didn't flinch. She didn't offer pity, either. Just a quiet, that had to hurt, and then a sip of her latte. She got it. She asked me what I would have done differently. I thought about it. Then I said, I wouldn't have ignored the early signs. You always know, deep down. You just choose to lie to yourself because the truth feels like a grenade in your chest. Claire nodded. But the grenade goes off anyway, right? Eventually, I said. And when it does, all that pretending doesn't mean a damn thing. She was quiet for a while, then said, I think most people want love, but they don't know how to give it without ruining it. I looked at her and smiled. That's probably the most honest thing anyone's said to me in 2 years. She shrugged. Honesty's cheaper than therapy. And we laughed. It was the kind of laughter that Amanda used to fake. The kind she used to weaponize, laughing too hard when I opened up, giggling at my ideas, smirking when I brought home surprises because they weren't the brand she liked. With Claire, there was no performance. No dance. Just air and time, and two people sitting still in a world that never shuts up. Later that night, I walked into my apartment, turned on the lights, and something felt different. Not the furniture. Me. I wasn't waiting anymore. Not waiting for a message or an apology or a second chance I didn't need. I was just living. Quietly. Fully. Amanda had taken pieces of me, sure. But the parts she couldn't touch, the ones she never even noticed, they were the ones rebuilding me. I checked my email before bed. One caught my eye. It was from Amanda. Subject line, you win. I opened it. Congratulations on moving on. Saw the photos of you and the brunette. I hope she loves boring. I guess that's all I ever was to you too, huh? A story you needed to finish. Just know, people like me don't vanish. We evolve. Enjoy the quiet. I'm done playing nice. I stared at the screen for a second. Then I hit delete. Didn't reply. Didn't even save it. Because she was wrong about one thing. I didn't win. I survived. There's a difference. Winning is about proving something to someone else. Surviving is about proving something to yourself. And I had. So I turned off the lights. And I slept. Peacefully. For the first time in years. 2 months later, I was sitting in a rooftop bar in San Diego, nursing a bourbon and watching the city lights blink like they had something to prove. Claire was inside, talking to a friend she hadn't seen in years. I gave her space. She gave me trust. That's how we worked. My phone buzzed. Private number. I ignored it. It rang again. I stepped away from the bar, into the corner near the exit sign, and answered. Noah, a voice said, familiar, bitter, and colder than I remembered. It's Amanda. My grip tightened around the glass. You've got 30 seconds, I said. And then I hang up. She breathed in sharply like she hadn't expected me to be so calm. You're really done with me, huh? 30 seconds. Fine, she snapped. I just wanted to say congrats. You found someone who's impressed by your little empire. Enjoy the simple life, Noah. That's all I wanted. That's not what you wanted, I replied. You wanted control. And when you couldn't have it, you set the house on fire and tried to watch me burn. She scoffed. God, you've become smug. No, I said. I just stopped apologizing for being the man you were too small to understand. Silence. Then she muttered, he left me. I didn't respond. Room 312, she added, like the code still mattered. He said it was just fun. Said I was never going to be anything more than a distraction. Still, I didn't speak. You could say something, she said, softer now, almost pleading. You could at least tell me I deserved it. You don't need me to say that, I replied. You've already figured it out. Click. I hung up. I didn't walk back inside immediately. I stood there, letting the weight of her words slide off me like rain on glass. There was a time when her pain would have been my responsibility. A time when I'd have tried to fix it, carry it, shape myself around it. But not anymore. I walked back to the table. Claire looked up, tilted her head. Everything okay? I smiled. Yeah, just a ghost trying to haunt a man who stopped believing in them. She grinned. Want another drink? No, I said, reaching for her hand. I want to walk with you. No noise. No past. Just now. And we did. Just walked. Because moving on isn't always a grand declaration. It's not revenge or closure or some perfect moment where the universe claps and says, well done. Sometimes, moving on is just choosing not to answer the door when the past knocks. Sometimes, it's sitting across from someone who didn't break you, who sees you not as something to fix or manipulate, but as something whole. And sometimes, it's finally understanding that peace isn't something someone gives you. It's something you take back, inch by inch, breath by breath. And I did.